Could be. Okay. Well, let's see. I guess we're really here on time. I'm going to propose tonight that we skip the August meeting. And the reason I'll do that is I think people need a rest. So
Good
vacation.
evening, everyone. I just wanted to say, sorry, I don't have video today.
All good. And Brian just texted me right before the meeting. He's not feeling well, so he's not gonna be able to make it tonight.
I'm sorry. Okay, Christy, I'm going to let you, because it's slow for me to read. I read with a magnifying glass. And
We don't have a quorum yet, though, Ralph.
Yeah, we have to wait.
yeah, I know we don't have a quorum, but if we, assuming we do get a quorum, I'll be asking you to read the statement at the beginning.
Sure, I have it. I believe Patrick, Greg are supposed to join, Patrick and Greg. They indicated that they would be on, so.
Okay, well.
And Kelly is here, so.
Hi, Greg, how are you? You're on mute too, Greg.
Yes, I am.
You're not anymore. Okay. There are 3 of us so far, so 4 of us, maybe 5 of us. I have to put this on, see what it says. Oh, it's growing.
I'm here. I just don't know how to get my video on. Is somehow there, you guys are.
There is and Christy will probably tell you better than I will, but there is along the bottom of the black space that you've got there, to the best of my knowledge, something that says video. Join with video or video.
We can see it.
Got it now, Ralph. Thank you.
Okay, real fine. Okay, hope you're all having a nice summer. Even if it's wet, it's not bone dry and no water. People in Oregon are hungry for water now. Water is being shipped in to Eastern Oregon. Western Oregon is fine. The West Coast is like the West Coast of California. It's 70, 71 degrees all day. All you have to do is go inland about 25 miles and it's 96, and then it went up to 114 last week. So, you know, the most surprising thing was 118 in Canada. Okay, let's see, we need 5. So, want to give me a count, Christy? We got 5 yet?
You do.
It looks like it. Looks like we got 6 at least. Okay, so I guess we'll begin the meeting. And we have some things to get done today and some action items. I'm taking care of that. Taking care of that. I'm taking care of that. Okay. And that. So beginning the meeting, and then we will start with the public statement in accordance with the provisions of the public, whatever it is, Public Meetings Act. Who would read that for me? Unless you want to painfully see me read it.
I can do that for you if you'd like.
Please do.
In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. NJSA 10:4-8B. Due to the COVID-19 situation, the Borough of Fairhaven's municipal facilities are closed to the public. This meeting is being presented through the Zoom meeting platform and being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this Environmental Commission meeting of July 21st, 2021 is available by call-in phone number or through web conference Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until the portion for public questions and comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question, comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was included in a schedule of meetings sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, the Hub, and the Star Ledger on January 28th, 2021. Posted on the Borough website, the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Environmental Commission is directed to include this statement in the minutes of the meeting. 6.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to inject a new item in here so we can get it behind us. I'm going to ask if there is any objection to our moving back to, and you may have to check this with Teresa, Christy, to moving back to meeting in the Borough Hall, normal place downstairs. If so, we need to announce it properly. And if there is a need to also simultaneously have it available on Zoom. Now, it may be awkward to run it that way, but talking to a few people, both in the Acme and other places, I'm getting known in town. I drive around my tricycle. People now know my name. They know what I do. So they lobby me for things like this. And one of them, just one, asked me if I could have the meeting continue on Zoom permanently because it's so much more inclusive to the population. And I can understand that. I'm willing to do that if there's a technical way of doing it. I imagine there is. And if the mayor, or at least if Teresa and you are willing to run it that way. First of all, let me ask you on behalf of the administration, would you object to running it that way?
I can give you some color of what's currently been happening at the borough. The council meetings over the last 6 weeks have been in person. They've had 3 in person at Borough Hall. However, they're not Zoomed, they're Facebook Live simultaneously, which means public can view the meeting, but participation is limited if you are a virtual attendee. That's currently the way it's running. You can, 2 meetings ago, they had the opportunity to email a question if they had one as a public attendee.
Okay,
But the format, right?
That would not answer this young lady's request that she be able to participate from home.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Planning and zoning is moving to in-person only, no electronic feature. Shade Tree's moving to trying to do a hybrid. It's kind of been a fluid situation as we, just opened about a month ago, Borough Hall, and figuring out the best platform and way to accommodate everyone.
Ralph, I think part of the issue is that we don't have good Wi-Fi downstairs in that room. We don't have good, I might be wrong about that. I think that room is not conducive to being able to use Zoom. And I think we're not there yet. So it will take a while. If we can go back in person, but we wouldn't have the Zoom available to us. We'll have this Facebook Live platform.
Well, Facebook doesn't meet the request of this person anyway, that she'd be able to participate just as if she was there. So I don't think that would work. Well, look, we will go back then, if there's no objection, we will go back to full-time in-person meetings at the Borough Hall. And in addition to that, I'm sorry to hear about the internet in the basement. I would think that would just be a case of putting a wireless extender down there. Anybody done that?
I think it's Teresa can probably explain to you. I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's the acoustics. There's a combination of factors that it's just not going to work. And I think we don't have the right technology right now to do it. But we are working on it. And I think there are plans to make sure that we will have it eventually. It's just not going to happen on an immediate basis.
Okay, has anybody tried a wireless extender? I imagine you don't know, but I understand about the acoustics. But in our house, because of thick masonry walls and brick walls, our wireless did not work. And so we put a wireless extender halfway between where the wireless, the modem was, the router, and where it was not received, and it fixed everything. It cost about $13.99. So plugs into the nearest plug. So I would ask, at any rate, I would ask Kenzie, if you would, Christie, if you would please try and ask whether they have an extender. And I think
Sure.
that would be a good first temporary step. And then
Yeah.
we will try to have it jointly with Zoom. Teresa, if Teresa agrees, okay? Try to get back to me. I'll be back on August 6th. I'm going to propose also that we not have a meeting in August. Give ourselves a week off, a month off. Is that agreeable to everybody here? Is anybody that's not agreeable to? Okay, well, motion from the chair then goes into the minutes that unanimously was agreed to, that we have the month of August off. Next meeting is September, probably the 20th or so.
15. Ms.
15th.
Moore.
Okay, that's just fine. All righty. Well, I'll get back on track now then, and I thank you for your courtesy. I'll get back on track. The sunshine law has been covered. We'll take attendance. Christie,
Okay, Ralph is here.
here.
Jesse,
Here,
Brian Rice, absent. Patrick Keeler,
Absent.
no, I see him.
he's here.
right?
Patrick,
Unmute.
wait a minute, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Trying to unmute.
Okay.
Fix it off with, oh, yeah. Hi, Patrick. You sure
Yeah.
are here in a bright orange shirt, but on a dark picture. Okay,
Gary Patterson, absent. Jonathan Peters, absent. Kelly Flanagan,
Here,
Greg Wright,
Here,
Sarah Bayer, absent. Councilwoman Neff.
Here,
That concludes attendance. We have a
Okay.
quorum.
the chair requests, Christie, that you record the attendance since the beginning of the year, because last year we passed a motion that all people, all members accumulate no more than 30% absences, that is, be present for 70% of the meetings. In general, that means that 7 out of 12 or 8 meetings have to be attended, 8 or 9. And so would you tell me when anybody fails that test, and we're not going to be draconian about it, but if there's good reason for absence, such as sickness or otherwise, that's fine. We'll take that into account. But John Peters has been around, has, I hope, been available and has not come as one person here. So I think we got to put some rules into effect here. And if you will, give me Christie, give me a list of those that fail the test through this meeting. And I will, and then we'll agree on sending a letter out or a memo or an email out, preferably to each of them, giving them a warning. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, having taken the roll call, then we move to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I like the clean, crisp way that Brian normally gives that. Tell him he's got to come back and get well. Okay, that having been done, let's proceed to the approval it'd be the June and July minutes, since the July minutes were circulated with the initial, that's a new way of doing it, but it's doable, with the initial agenda for this meeting. So let's first take the June meeting minutes. They were circulated separately.
They were approved last, oh wait. Are you
Okay, I don't know why I'm looking at this. Let me just see something here.
We
Uh-huh.
have June, we don't have, yeah, it should be just last month's instead of,
June. Okay, so
Right.
this is July, so it was the June minutes. I was right. So are there any questions on those minutes? Any changes, any modifications, thoughts? Hearing none, I declare them accepted and approved. Okay, then we go into new business. Some of these things are not going as fast as they should. In spite of my asking Teresa to get in on some of them. The first thing is Sustainable New Jersey, and I see Kelly's here. Kelly, we have several things to discuss under Sustainable New Jersey. And I'm also going to ask your green team to do some things that I think they'll be happy to do. So why don't you bring us up to date on the green team and Sustainable New Jersey? And I'm most intent on getting Sustainable New Jersey at least to the point where we agreed. And I'm worried about the time, every month is another month.
Sure. Okay, so we've been meeting weekly with our fellow that we were awarded from the Sustainable Jersey Grant, our EDF fellow, Karen. She has been very helpful. She's been meeting with me, DJ Breckenridge, who's been our correspondent from the municipal team, and Mike McHugh, and it's been very informative. So she has been really helpful in setting us up for some of these priority actions from Sustainable Jersey. So if you are aware, with bronze, you need one priority action in order to qualify for silver. Not only do you need those additional points, those 350 points, but you need at least 3 priority actions.
Right.
And so one of the priority actions that we will be receiving and be having all the documentation ready to submit at the end of this will be the energy tracking and management. So this is worth 20 points. So right now what she's done is she's gotten all the utility bills from JCP&L and from New Jersey Natural Gas, has inputted them into the database, and has started tracking it, and has actually given us reports on where we currently stand with our 4 buildings and our energy usage. So the good thing is that the 2 buildings that are least energy efficient are the ones that are slated to be knocked down. So that's a good thing. But we can see how they are comparative as well, benchmarks against other buildings in the country. So it's kind of neat how you can see this. So we have all this information. I can happily share it to you. So we have that documentation. That's part of it. So that's for 10 points. For the additional 20 points, what we need to do right now, and I was telling them that I would bring it up to the meeting tonight to see what your guys' thought and input is, but we need to have Sustainable Jersey ask that a municipal employee to be trained and willing to continue up with the data input. So it's once a month, and it shouldn't be any more than 30 to 45 minutes. It's just inputting the utility bills from JCP&L and New Jersey Natural Gas for the 4 buildings. Then there'll be only 2 buildings and then back to 4, but just enter that data into the spreadsheet because it asks for you to start that, but but also continue to track that and manage it. So that's a 2-part problem, or to get those
Okay.
20 points.
Did she, I should say, coordinate the meter number with the function in the borough hall? For example, one function runs most of the air conditioning, one runs the gas heater, they're all assigned to different functions. In order to try to save money later, you have to know which meter corresponds to which functions, because those are the things you operate on to save money.
I believe she's been working with DJ back and forth and through people at municipal, at Borough Hall. She's gotten a bunch of it. She's been on the phone with it. She set up a whole online database through that. Now we're able to access a lot of our bills online as well. I believe, Ralph, I don't know specifics. I haven't seen the database. So
Okay,
she
no,
hasn't.
I appreciate that. Could you, for the next meeting in September, could you talk to her in between, make sure that they're coordinated so that once you track a meter reading, you're actually tracking an actual function in the borough hall or any other building.
Okay, but I think so she's asking us to nominate somebody, to find somebody who will be this tracker so she can train in the next week to 2 weeks. Her fellowship ends in 3 weeks.
Okay.
So within that time frame, we need to find somebody, and Sustainable Jersey asks that it's a municipal employee so that like the continuation, the whole thing is, it doesn't help if it just stops, if a volunteer just ends it, but it's like this whole ongoing continuation of this energy tracking and management.
Understood.
Kelly, sorry.
I would ask Teresa. I don't run the borough hall. Teresa does.
Right.
And so I would ask Teresa. Maybe you could ask her, since I'm going to be away on vacation, Christy,
Yep.
if she could assign someone, if she's willing to assign someone, and then
Maybe me.
it might be you, yes.
And Christy, that would be great. And Karen is super helpful and intuitive, and she even said, like, if there was somebody from, because DJ thought maybe somebody from the green team, but then she went back and said, well, Sustainable Jersey actually asked that it's a municipal employee, just so that you have that, not as much fall off. But she would be happy to, if you wanted to join one of our weekly meetings on Wednesday or whenever at your convenience. She said it shouldn't take long at all, and it's just pretty straightforward. But we can talk aside if you wanted to, or even bring that after you bring it up to Teresa as well, Christy.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's about an hour a month for the data input?
Yeah, she said just maybe at the beginning, but as you know what you're doing, it shouldn't take more than 30 minutes.
Great.
I think it'd
Okay.
be helpful, Kelly, for her to email Teresa copying you, or you for email Teresa copying her. But I explain what the importance of that is, and is there a particular action that this is attached to? Because I think there's a Sustainable Jersey action for the maintaining this surveillance, right? So
Right,
just
it's
make sure that
required for
Teresa
the,
knows that it's attached to that particular action, and that's why we would like to continue that monitoring.
sure, it's required for an action, yeah, and I think DJ at first said that, like, whether like Councilman McHugh or Councilman Neff, it might just appear better if you were to, I don't know, email Teresa, but I would be happy to do that and just send you guys on there, and if you could just reiterate, why it's important, sure.
I can email Teresa tomorrow morning. Do you have any information by email that she sent to you that you could just forward to me?
Yeah, I have for my notes. I'll just put together an email, forward it to you, Lulini.
Yeah, okay, and if you do that, I'll email Teresa tomorrow, copy you, and copy her as well.
Perfect.
That would,
So
that
that,
would be
you know,
very helpful.
we have that, yeah, because then
Yeah,
we can make sure that we get that ball rolling and.
right, because that's not only 20 points, but one of the priority actions. So that would be great.
Or get us to silver, plus you'll help us figure out where we are, at least for a year or so, it gives us a period of time that we're able to understand where we are.
Right, so that's good. So that's one of them. Now, the other thing that she has helped me out, or that we're just working on right now, is a fleet inventory. So of all our fleet vehicles. So DJ got us all that information. I have a data sheet. I am going to start plugging in info, and that's another priority action. And it's worth 10 points. A couple other things. So the good thing is that because we're our energy that we get from town is an aggregate, we're all part of the NJSEM, this aggregate that we go in with other towns to get this renewable energy. So that's already in action that we just simply need from Teresa documentation saying we're part of that group. So that's good. Now there's another action related to that, which I'm going to find out more, seeing if we provide as a municipal, as a town, a group purchase for renewable energy for the town, because if we can offer it cheaper for
We
our, do we?
I believe
We
so.
already have that, yeah, I don't know if it's been renewed, but we are buying, we have some group purchasing program,
It's a
and
Monmouth County operation.
we got points on Sustainable Jersey last time because they had a certain minimal amount of renewable energy that was generated and providing energy to us.
Right, but that's for the town, but do we offer it to residents?
Oh, to
Oh,
residents.
that's.
Yeah,
okay,
there's
that's
two
different.
parts. One part
Okay.
we already do, but the other part is if you offer it to residents, to town people, and that it's so that they can purchase more renewable energy at a cheaper rate because it's a larger, you're offering it. So I didn't know.
How difficult is it to do that? What would that entail?
So I have to go back into Sustainable Jersey and find out what documentation is, but I really think it's then that's what I was asking her about. I said, what is the holdup there? There's no financial incentives for doing it. It's just pure, I think, environmental, but it's just a matter of coming up with a contract with that energy supplier. So I will look more into that, but that's something also that we were talking about.
I could interrupt there.
Yeah.
Last year, well, now a good 2 years ago, we did look into that. It was offered by a separate company or affiliate, separate not-for-profit organization. And the price was substantially higher than what JCPL or Northwest Energy offered at the time. And so, of course, we declined it. It was about 5 to 7% higher. But it did use wind power and the like. It might be a better situation now economically. So I think we should go ahead and understand it.
Okay.
You won't sell.
We also purchased in our home, that wind power, Ralph. It was not that much more money. I think it's an extra $100 a year. It wasn't that much.
Okay.
I don't remember how much it was, but it's compared to all the total energy we use. I think it'll be great to have people at least know about it because some people may want to use that wind power option, or if we're able to offer something for the town residents in some kind of aggregate arrangement, that's even better.
Right. So I'll look into that, what documentation we need from Sustainable Jersey, and just see, what third-party offers there are, that we can extend to the community, perhaps. That's, not much logistic or legwork on the borough side. Now, Lalini, I know you were really big with the carbon footprint. You really wanted to find our town's carbon footprint. Well, this energy tracking and management that that we're already going to get and the fleet inventory are the prerequisites to the carbon footprint. So once we have those two, then we can work and apply towards another priority action. So that would be our third too, if we wanted to. What would be, finding our carbon footprint for town.
That would be great, Kelly. And if that's not something that the intern is able to help us with, I'll be happy to help you with that. I think I looked at it a couple of years ago, and then they provide a spreadsheet that the borough has to fill out.
Right. So, and the thing about this intern, which has been great, she's been finding so much information for us that I even, asked, because it's only 3 weeks left, kind of coming up with like a 1-pager of like a summary of some of these important things, because a lot of this stuff is also not eligible until like the new building. So for instance, there's a couple options for like upgrading for Borough Hall, the library, and Bicentennial Hall, which you can get these direct install options, where JCP&L and NJ, they just released July 1 their direct install options, and there's 2 programs that can help replace equipment in existing buildings for getting rebates up to 80% off, or special financing and all this stuff on many different things. So that would be one, something to look at for trying to upgrade when we upgrade those buildings or become more energy efficient if we want to. But with the new buildings, there are this Smart Start building rebates where, and this is where I think, whoever is on the facilities committee, it'd be really nice to kind of get them involved in hearing some of this information. But you can get Smart Start, these tons of building rebates that I also, I shared with Mike McHugh, but it's, you have the contractor that actually fills out all the specs, and you can get a lot of these rebates for this stuff. And you can apply before the installation. So that's just another something else she's been happening. So, and then also the pay to plug program, if we were going to do the chargers down the line for electric vehicles, there's a lot of information. Now, regarding solar, she did say that her advice that she received from Sustainable Jersey was that partnering with school districts with on-site solar will definitely be more cost effective from like economies of scale. And so perhaps, that's something to kind of still keep in touch with the schools, and maybe reach out to some solar developers for some quotes. However, they do recommend, they're very big proponents of the solar thermal heating, especially for the police department. If you're going to have showers, it seems like pretty, and I know Lalini, you had brought that up a couple times before too, the solar thermal heating, but so they're going to find out more information for me with that and what, incentive programs there are.
Yeah, my understanding from that one is that it was sort of like cheaper than any other option. It was, it was the one area that you just really won the price, competition by any other available option. I thought someone raised the issue that it might not be completely reliable, or it might break down sometimes. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't have the knowledge to know.
Okay. Yeah, Nancy Quirk, we had a meeting with Nancy Quirk from Sustainable Jersey, and she was very big about that. We actually had a meeting. I don't know if you guys are aware of Bicentennial Hall. They've been having the last council meeting. They were talking about Bicentennial Hall. I know they're meeting with the historical commission on the 27th, but I don't know if you guys know their plans to put in a parking lot right there in Bicentennial Hall and to make it ADA. I know this has just gotten some talk with the green team about there's a big tree there and how are you going to fit that parking lot, and just some other things, I don't know. So we had met with Sustainable Jersey because there's also actions related to historical properties and restoration of historical properties. And so they gave us, some ideas and some stuff, but there's also, talking about the Gardner grant, which is by Sustainable Jersey, just incentives for historic upgrades that perhaps we could look into as well. But I don't know if the environmental committee has been aware of what, or do you guys have you looked at the plans about Bicentennial Hall or not? I'm not sure.
We've not looked at the plans. However, I've discussed them with Rich and with Teresa. And the plans weren't final at that time, it was a good 2 months ago. I think we can look at the plans. We may want to ask DJ if he's the right person to come over and share the plans with us. And that would be in an in-person meeting.
So the external plan was shared in the last council meeting, Kelly.
Mhm.
And I think what was said about the trees is that they will be preserved and they're gonna work around the trees. But the way it was presented to council is that there was a view that in order to provide the necessary parking and be ADA compliant and all, that parking lot was necessary. The inside of Bicentennial Hall, apparently there are 3 different proposed plans and that has not been finalized. So they're still working through the inside. But it appeared that my understanding in the last council meeting was that the outside was, they're pretty close to final on that.
Okay, because I think Mike McHugh said that there was gonna be a Liberty tree, like this big tree that was gonna be knocked down as well. And so
Okay, so maybe that's something we need to circle up because someone asked the council whether there were 3 trees, I think, that were mentioned, that whether they were going to be saved. And Chris Rodriguez said that yes,
okay,
they were going to be saved. So he's in facilities, we should we can follow up with him on that, but that's what he said in the public council meeting, that they were making their plans such as to save the trees.
Lonnie,
okay.
there aren't that many places on the property that could be made available. And some time ago, I suggested that indenting the curb and having angular parking for a good part of that block would not take any more space out of the traffic lanes if the angular parking, 45-degree parking were put in properly. But they could get all the places they'd need by doing that, I think. You might want to suggest it again. It sounds like it might have fallen on deaf ears.
I think, also with the green team, talking about the trees, the benefit of not only the shade, but the water intake, if we're also talking about stormwater and management, that, but being so close to Acme and that insurance place right there and partnerships with parking after hours, if you're going to have the borough meetings there, it just seems, that there maybe some other options could also be explored rather than putting 10 spaces right there on that. How does that affect the look, the setup, and also wastewater runoff, everything, I don't know.
I think it would, frankly, I think putting parking on the property would be an offense to the nature of the property and to the whole notion of the Bicentennial Hall. I would feel very badly about it. I think either the angular parking or if the new building remember the owners have moved out of that insurance building. If the new owners were agreeable to hosting some parking, or Acme was and people were willing to walk that distance, either one is far preferable to screwing up the property of Bicentennial Hall.
I think it would be good that if one or both of you or several of you attended the council meeting on the 26th, this coming Monday, and presented that view. So, I fear that if we don't move quickly on that, that the council may not hear the counterpoints.
Can you bring, as a council person, Lily, you're in the best position to bring it up early in the discussion rather than as an afterthought that we would do it as?
I can certainly bring it up in the discussion at the
Please do
council,
that.
and it would be great to have, residents participate on that. The facilities committee is leading that. So McHugh would have, Kelly, have you talked to him about that as part of your discussion with the fellow? Because that he would have direct input on that as a member of the facilities committee.
Yeah, we had talked about it last week and at last week's green team as well, there was a lot of, members of the green team too that were, that should be like the last ultimate option, but they haven't been exploring like partnerships with the people around there. Remember, it's also in like a very densely, area. You have commercial, residential, everything right there. It's easy to bike, easy to walk to. And so we just saw that, we kind of expressed our feelings and thoughts that way, but we would love to also, we've been asked, the green team and the environmental committee has been asked to see the plans of the PD and the DPW. I just feel like it would be worthwhile to have a thorough look at those plans before they're signed, sealed and delivered.
Agreed. Sure, and makes sense. And I think that, that the parking is something that we should be open to other solutions. I mean, if we can arrange to park in some of the other locations, as you mentioned, like if we have evening meetings, some of those locations are not using that parking lot at night. So if we're able to show that we could achieve, the parking, get the parking spaces we need, because it's operating at a different time frame than the daily business is there. Maybe it's possible to make changes. I would certainly be open for that.
Colleen, recall that we're probably going to need 3 disabled parking places there. We may still need a combination of things. The other 2 locations do not provide for disabled parking, and we don't want those on the property either.
No, I agree, and that has to be there. I agree with you, Ralph, that the disabled parking has to be provided, and there will be a ramp from that parking. There will be a ramp that would enable anybody who needs to get into Bicentennial Hall. So that we are going, I don't think we can eliminate the parking. Maybe we could consider reducing it depending on what needs we're trying to serve. But I don't believe we can eliminate that because we're trying to be ADA compliant.
Right. I was on the original committee that redesigned it, put in the hall, as you know it, Bicentennial Hall, as you know it today. So I feel very close. That was 1970s, 70s, 80s. So I feel very close to finding whatever solution we can here.
That might also be discussed in the Historic Commission meeting on the 27th. So that's something I'm going to dial into that meeting. But that would be something that probably will be good to discuss on the 27th as well. I would wonder what the Historic Commission would think about that.
Good. I'll be in Oregon at that point, but if you would be kind enough to offer my services there in whatever way they think they can use them, I'll be happy to do that.
Sure. Yeah, it's at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the 27th.
Yeah, well, I'll be in Oregon.
Okay.
Okay, Kelly, want to
That's
proceed?
it. I think that's it in terms of just keeping you up to date with the Sustainable Jersey and the fellow.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
We
it is quite a bit.
at the September meeting, we'll be there in person. I encourage you to bring along any number of your members of the Green Team
Sure.
to be in the audience. And Kelly, I want to congratulate the Green Team. I believe that we will have some assignments for you to consider when we are at the September meeting.
Okay.
One of the assignments is going to be how we distribute the signs that will go in garbage cans and the magnets that will go in refrigerators for recycling. So
Yes, I saw your email about that. Now, has it been decided whether it's going to be, I know we've been tossing up in the air, what's better, like a magnet or a,
it'll be on the agenda tonight. We'll
Okay.
get to it tonight.
sure. Great. We'd be happy to help you with that as well.
Thank you very much, Kelly.
Okay.
Okay. The next item after Sustainable Jersey, the LED streetlights. I'm beginning to feel like the outraged John Peters that night when he used the words he used to describe JCPL, because they keep telling us all the right words, that they're doing everything they can to accelerate putting our LED streetlights in, and that they have to have custom-made street arms, which are already made. And they will be doing it just in the nearest of the future, and nothing has happened. And so come September, we're going to have a motion, if nothing has happened still, and with the mayor's permission, we're going to have a motion forwarded to the director outside plant of Jersey Central Power and Light to encourage them to do it within the next few weeks. So I will let that be known to Frank, who is the regional manager for JCPL, in the very near future, probably right after August 7th. Okay, I expect some movement there any day. The Navesink River, Brian's not here. The river is ceasing to be filled with dead fish. That's nice. And the river has turned a lot of its green duckweed and whatever it has into a very black duckweed, which I've not seen before. I was picking up the beach today and finding this, and I thought I'd ask the question of the state if they had noticed. Has anybody else noticed what's on the beach this year? It's just in the last 2 weeks. At this time of year, normally you'll see green leaves from the underwater plants coming up, torn loose by the wave action and on the beach to be picked up. But this year they were all black. I have no idea why. So if I have an answer by September, I expect I will. I'll tell you. I'll skip the rest of the item. Brian will be back. I know he's been doing his good work there. The next item is town recycling. Here, this is the item that we're going to talk about. I'm largely from talking to people in the Acme and at other places. I'm very much leaning and arguing that we should lean to provide both refrigerator magnets and stickers for garbage cans, reminding them to use the recycling feature. Now, the town already does pretty well in recycling, and Rich has told us that we're recycling more than half of what we could be recycled aside from food. Other things that we actually choose to recycle, and the list is growing longer, and the new list will reflect that. Maz's facility is much better than I even thought it was when I saw it. It is one of the best in the country, according to a recent journal article, in single stream recycling, and really cutting costs, using some rather clever optical and mechanical means of doing so. We've only 6 people in the stream of picking out recycling that doesn't belong there. Our people and the people who they serve are pretty good in putting in what should be put in a recycle can. But they're also, we are guessing by the amount of recycling coming through from Fairhaven, we are guessing that we could be putting in a good deal more. And some of it is just bottles that people don't choose to wash out and they put in the garbage. that sort of thing. So I think the labels and the refrigerator magnets will help to remind them of that, tweak their guilty conscience. Is there any discussion on, would you accept seeing both done if the village, if the borough pays for the costs, which will be quite low? The distribution cost will be the most important, the highest piece of the cost. Okay,
Sorry, do you mean, when you mentioned the distribution cost, you mean,
either mailing them out to every resident or delivering them to every resident, or having an Eagle Scouts or others go around and slap them on the recycle cans on the day the recycle cans are out. I know they're the town's cans, so we can do it. However, I think some people will not like having somebody else slap something on their recycling can. That's why I prefer to talk about that after we agree to do this.
do you know how much it is gonna be to mail it to people?
How much it's going to be about 67 cents for one of the labels and about $1 for one of the rubber magnets.
Well,
Not delivering it, that's the basic cost. That's the cost that Mazda is paying right now. And Mazda uses it for ads, so the town is not going to, obviously, the town is not going to use Mazda's units, which were offered to us.
you know, one thing that the green team was thinking about is doing some sort of like environmental fair or some kind of thing in the fall where getting some of the other town committees such as the Shade Tree and Fairhaven Natural Fields and just kind of doing some sort of event where I could see it if we had those, it'd be nice to kind of hand them out, distribute that way. Another option could be, I mean, what about street captains? I know with the PTA, you do that when you're doing some of the fundraising, you know, actually having somebody do a street captain and then you just go hand them off to the streets, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2,000 homes, so, you know, maybe you can get the scouts involved and have different troops involved, or you can do street captain too. But it's a big job. I don't think the green team can handle that job on its own. We would need, you know, I think if we want to go the route of distributing it, someone actually providing, you know, like putting it in someone else's mailbox or by their door, then I think we turn it into a campaign. Either we mail it, if we can do a campaign anyways. But if you're gonna get people to actually walk the streets and deliver it, then you really want to turn this into a more meaningful exercise as to why anybody would give their time to do that.
Yeah.
And it could be an interesting opportunity if we make it interesting.
Mailing them is more expensive than buying them. So the postage for them, I weighed one of them, brought it down to the post office, be $1.20 to mail them, $1.22 or something.
But I mean, how do they get people to do Derma Dreams? I mean, they go to pretty much every house with those bags. So, I mean, I know you can offer it as, you know, hours, volunteer hours. We could even reach out to some of the junior green team that we've been trying to, you know, some of the kids in Knollwood, but also there's a environmental club or junior green team in Rumson Fairhaven. I mean, I think there could be options we could look into, and I'd be happy to like share it or send an email to the green team, see what their ideas are. But I think there definitely probably is some way that we could avoid the cost of mailing.
Kelly, why don't you and the green teams put your innovative hats on and see what you can suggest by our September meeting.
Okay. And
Okay?
Christy, if you have any advice from your, you know, PTA experience?
I mean,
know you
Harvest Fest, if you're like community event, Harvest Fest will be in the fall. That generates a lot of people.
Sure.
Other thing I mean, the borough does mailing of, like, for example, tomorrow we're mailing out every single tax bill to 2,000 people. Like if there's a mailing you could piggyback on, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
possible.
I mean, I personally think I agree with Christy. I don't see an issue with the mailing, and I think as far as cost, you know, the borough should be able to cover. It's not such a high cost that this is a major issue. So it's back to, we can easily mail this, we should be able to afford that as a borough. And like Chris said, it just piggyback on the next thing that being mailed out, or turn it into a meaningful campaign if you're really gonna try to get people to go there and do that. And I think the green team could possibly put together something really interesting, or Kelly, just, if we're really gonna have that Fairhaven Environmental Day,
Mm-hmm.
then just distribute that at Fairhaven Environmental Day, but not everyone in town will have it, which might be acceptable still.
It'll be the environmental day will be a small percentage of the population, I think.
And I think you want to hit people that aren't going to be going to those type of days.
Right.
But honestly, I mean, it might make more sense if you
Right.
maybe mail stickers that wouldn't cost as much, and then have magnets available for bigger events or for some sort of campaign too. I mean,
Is
that's
the
an idea as
printed
well.
Borough calendar still mailed out once a year?
Yes.
Mail it with that.
Well, that's
Yeah.
a,
Big envelope.
Yeah, right.
that's a point. That's a very good point.
Mhm.
Put it on your list, Kelly.
Okay,
Very
it.
good point,
good job.
because the calendars are mailed in the November timeframe,
Yeah,
and that would be good timing.
And I think, Jesse, that's a good suggestion, that what you said, the sticker goes in the mailing,
Right.
and then the magnet, which is heavier, gets distributed at different events. That's a good idea.
Yeah, even having it at Borough Hall too, just have like a stack there, and anytime there's some sort of event with town that, there's gonna be some sort of presence, have them available so people can pick them up.
I wonder if printed matter applies to rubberized stickers. Well, we'll find out.
or like the postcard, right? Because somebody, we were saying nobody has the fridges that can magnet, but just like a cardstock postcard, you could just pin right on there, or, But I
Right.
think it's, the more you see it, the more you learn it, right?
It could
Right.
be part of the calendar, honestly. I could, someone could actually like take it off the calendar. So, easy enough.
Yeah.
Okay, let me leave that to the green team's innovation, and we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
Point, guys, thanks.
And thank you. The next item on the agenda is the residential stormwater ordinance. And I think that is closed out, Christie, for the next meeting, because that ordinance, we ought to track it and see how it's being worked.
No,
But
Ralph, we were discussing last time that I know Brian was supposed to speak with folks with like planning and zoning about discussing the additional measures to incorporate. And I know he spoke with the head of the planning board. I know I didn't get to speak with him about it, but I know they're open to introducing some more of those ideas from that white paper. So we weren't planning on closing it out. We were planning on having side discussions with the different boards.
okay, well, we'll hear more about it perhaps the next meeting.
Yeah, I think September, we should have
The
some.
council the council has already stated they want to see how this works before they go into anything more.
Yeah, and I know we discussed that at the last meeting too,
Right.
but we also discussed on the side, seeing, how perceptive, the planning and zoning boards would be to these, which they are pretty open to it. So as I know Brian had the conversations with them, so we'll have some more information in the next meeting.
Sounds good. Okay, then after the residential stormwater, we have the town solar. And Kelly, you and Leanie were going to talk about that. Is there something new you can add right now?
I think for my part, as I mentioned to you with Sustainable Jersey, they just said the more, if you can get something on with the schools, and I remember the fellow is also working with the schools as well. So she's meeting with them tomorrow and is mentioning to them that we are also interested if there's a project on the line to both jump in on it together, for economy of scales, get a bigger, larger bid. It would be more beneficial than going on our own. And perhaps there's just also, they gave advice of reaching out to solar developers now from other municipalities and schools that have combined it, and see where, what they did, or if they can give an estimate. But they also really were big fans of the, lower cost and, of doing the solar thermal heating, if anything with showers or anything with water heating.
Right. Well, I don't understand it yet. Greg may have a better idea here, but taking into account the price of property in close by distances, that is northern central New Jersey, the notion that seems to be in the Asbury Park press every so often is that you buy many, many acres, 100 acres, and you put all these solar cells in them. It preserves the acreage from being built on, is part of the understanding. And the other part is you get the solar power. But it would seem to me that putting it on buildings everywhere is a much simpler operation without condemning land. And you can give essentially bonuses to people for doing it. Does anybody have some insight on those two different approaches economically?
It's really expensive to put them on roofs. Every roof is different. Not every roof has sunlight all the time. When they go to places like this, near, there's a couple of places, one in Holmdel, off of Holmdel Keyport Road. There's another one, one further south of Tinton Falls, and maybe one near the county landfill as well. Those are very inexpensive to put up, and the panels are pointed to the south. It works pretty well. Not as great as people say, because they really need to be cleaned, and they don't get cleaned enough, particularly during dry spells. And during the best time of year, their output drops.
Well, I don't know the price difference between solar farms and solar at home, but I installed solar panels in my home 2 years ago, and I think it was the best decision we've made. They pay for themselves in about 5 to 6 years, and after that you have free energy on a going forward basis. I don't think people in town are aware of the economics or how to go about it. There are a few solar homes in Fairhaven. Maybe one thing that we could think about is a solar house event that people could just go and tour the backyard of those people like us who have solar, and ask questions and find out how we did it and how it was done. I'm pretty sure, I know some other people who have solar in their homes, and they probably would be pretty happy to see other residents come over and ask questions to them and be able to show them how it's done. I agree that, it depends on the position of your roof, and it depends on how many trees you have and if you have shade. But some of the homes, many of the homes in Fairhaven are probably will be ideal for solar. And as Ralph mentioned, they don't take up additional space. So it's great. We love it. I will highly recommend it to anybody who would like to see it in my backyard.
I was very disappointed to find that our home was among those many homes in Fairhaven that were built with lath and cedar shakes for roofs, no plywood. And you have to remove the entire roof, change the 8x10s to 10x10s, and then put up the solar, and that becomes unbelievably expensive. So
it's not suitable for every structure. And we do have to bear in mind as well that over time, as more people deploy it, the problem is it seems cheap because you get to sell your power back, and someone else has to deal with the problem of making sure there is actually electricity 24 hours a day. And as it is still by about a factor of 10 too expensive to store it, especially on large scale, maybe a factor of 100. What's happening is when there's no sun, someone's just running a natural gas power plant like the one you see as you go over the Driscoll Bridge. So those power plants are just ramping up and down as the sun sets. And that problem gets bigger as more people deploy solar, as they found out in California, where in the afternoon they need to turn on the equivalent in the state of 13 big power plants in a period of 2 hours. So there's right now, because the deployment density is low, we don't see these problems yet. But if people really do start rolling these things out, this is the kind of problems we'll start to have.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Well, I'd like to see a study of this at some point, and I did some research on relative costs 4 or 5 months ago, and I didn't find anything that I thought was credible. So if you find anything, tell me. I don't think we have the room to put large quantities in Fairhaven of solar cells. Am I wrong?
I'm not sure we have that information, and I don't know that I know how many homes in Fairhaven have the right roof in the right position and no shade. It's an individual homeowner decision. I think it doesn't hurt to, raise it as an awareness issue, and maybe create some kind of situation or event under which people can actually ask questions to those who have solar panels. I don't think if we had another 100 homes with solar, it would cause any issues with the power company. I mean, we're very far away from having enough solar power to have an issue with distributed electricity sources. The great thing is, future is going to be very different. You can plug your electric car in your home and power it with solar energy. You can have bi-directional, that will be in the future, bi-directional charging, so you can charge use your car to charge your home. There's electric batteries. There are many other options. And one advantage is that some of these batteries, solar batteries, they don't have the noise and the pollution created by many of the other generators we have in Fairhaven. I think everybody can hear and smell when we have people running generators in town.
Yeah, well,
Unfortunately, it happens frequently because we lose power quite a bit. So that's something to think about. I think we should be open for that. And we are very far away from, having an issue with distributed energy in our town.
Yeah, well, we certainly should optimize the use of it on private homes as much as private homeowners want. And eventually we're going to move into those problems that Greg has pointed out, but I think we may as well get there and then deal with them. Okay, well, I don't think there'll be more to say. The council isn't going to get involved in that, I'm sure of that. So moving on, McCarter Pond. I have to express some pique there. I thought we had it sold to the council. I thought the council was going in for bonding, and then nothing happened. It's supposed to be taken up at one of the council meetings. I think that when I get back, I think I'll have to take it up with, first of all, with Ben and with Teresa. And so I'll take that as an action item, which you can record, because Teresa and Ben both read the minutes I discovered. So if you would, then please, Katie, please put in the action item for me to discuss it with Ben Lucarelli and with Teresa Casagrande.
Sorry,
McCarter Pond, where we're going with McCarter Pond. I thought we were almost to the goalpost.
Ralph, we may have an attendee. I'm not sure if Richard Fuller is one of the 2 attendees that we have, but he's emailed me with questions about McCarter Pond and monitoring of that water. Would we open, if he is one of the attendees, could we open it for him, so that he's able to pose these questions to the Environmental Commission?
We
And-
have 2 attendees. If you are one of them, please raise your hand and I can permit you to talk.
And real quick though, before, just to add on to that conversation of McCarter Pond though, Ralph, and if you remember from after last meeting, I did send you guys that information that Bonnie had sent me about the BMATs, right? And she said she would volunteer to be the person from the green team and represent them to find out all the information we would need to, more about McCarter Pond, like
And
Yeah. to find out more information about the possibility of using that type of technology in the BMATs.
and so what's happened?
No, I'm just saying she hasn't, but we wanted to find out information about what's the depth, what's the square footage, like how deep, when was it last time raked? What is the nitrogen, the phosphorus, a lot of that kind of
Right.
ground starting point information. And I don't know if that was have you guys tested it in the past? Did you test it yourself?
I have personally walked the pond in tall boots, measured the pond at 7 different spots and done it for 3 successive years. And the findings were that the depths in what was apparent water were between 4 inches and 2 feet. 2 feet was the deepest. And there was just tons of duckweed residue underneath, rotting away, providing food for the next generation of duckweed. And I also did contact, and Brian did too, the people who who make the pumps, hydraulic pumps, and they require 2 feet or more. And they need to be on a platform well above ground zero to act as pumps. So we don't have the conditions right now to do so. So I think that hydraulic raking is the only thing that is possible. I'm convinced of that at this point. The alternatives have been looked at. And we should start to do that, lay it out to dry weeks at a time, and then cart it over to form the basis for more paths in the natural area. And that's what I plan to talk to Ben and Teresa about.
So maybe I'll speak on behalf of Richard Fuller, since he may not be with us as an attendee. His main question to the Environmental Commission, and he actually emailed me a couple of times about that, was he wanted to know whether fertilizers being used by those who are close to the pond is having a significant impact on the deterioration of the water in the pond. And my understanding is that it really is a combination of factors, including natural sedimentation and also some of the duck gunk. Fertilizers is truly a part of that, but not all of it. His question was whether we had any monitoring plans to have some type of periodic monitoring of the pond water, and just make sure that, to figure out to what degree fertilizers are playing a role in making the water deteriorate again, and have us end up in a cycle that we are cleaning something up and you'll get back to the same deteriorating position that it is in now. And essentially we're just spending money over and over again. So I just wanted to relay that. My understanding, and Ralph, you can correct me along with others in the commission, is that fertilizer is not the driving issue creating the deterioration in the water quality. That there are other issues such as natural sedimentation that are really the drivers that we're dealing with.
The current small amount of impotent fertilizer that is put on, my instinct now, I'm not giving you numbers, but I think the rather impotent fertilizer that is now sold in New Jersey doesn't even do much to our lawn, leave alone the gross needs of duckweed and the like. in a pond that would have to be fed by the leftovers of that fertilizer. So I really don't think that the fertilizer people put on, even cumulatively over several years, is going to going to do anything near what in removing the duckweed or lessening its growth than what hydraulic raking can do. And it is needed. We have to take out 2 feet of hydraulic duckweed. So I don't think there is an alternative, to be honest with you. It's a different order of magnitude, the fertilizer issue.
All right, thank you, Ralph.
Just my instinct, but I'd be happy to discuss it with anybody who has the numbers. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and let the minutes show that I'm going to talk with Ben, and since we offered support for hydraulic and a memo for hydraulic raking, and the council, I thought, was going to put it to a vote, do something about it, and it got quietly dropped out of the session. So we'll see what we can do to revive it. Okay, if there's no more on that topic, then is there new business?
I
Is there
would like
any-
to raise, I have one question on new business, if I may.
Sure.
I've been contacted by a resident that is dealing with an issue with bamboo. In particular, bamboo that is in one property and not being properly maintained and ending up in the neighbor's property. And this is something that has been going on for several years. I guess the question I have, and I thought I would bring it to the Environmental Commission, is do we have any policy, or should we have any policy with regards to invasive species, in particular with invasive species such as bamboo, which grow very fast, and have very strong roots that can grow into other neighbors. I'm just wondering whether there's something that we should do beyond what we have today in Fairhaven
Yeah,
that would essentially address this type of issue.
bamboo is recognized as a very invasive plant. It's a nasty plant to get rid of. It grows into other properties. It's basically a nuisance, and the way I've seen it done in other states, and maybe even in New Jersey, is that you go to the police and you put in a claim of a nuisance claim, and the police will ask the people to remove it. I think that's probably the proper way of doing it. It should not be in the ground except in pots.
I think that this has been an ongoing issue, a complaint to the borough over a number of years, actually, I would say many years, at least for this particular resident. It just strikes me that there might be something, and maybe I have to do some research on my own to see if there's something I can propose to the Environmental Commission, but then maybe there's some kind of, I'm not sure if it's an ordinance or some kind of action that maybe would discourage this in a stronger degree, because I really think that we should not be in a situation that police is having to receive a nuisance complaint over several times over and tell a neighbor to take something like that down. It just seems to me that maybe we should address it more broadly.
All we're gonna do is recognize it as a nuisance. It's well documented as a nuisance. And then we would, since we're a commission, we can call in the police. Committees can't, commissions can. We would call in the police and ask them to ask the people to remove the nuisance. It's just as if they had a drunken tenant.
Remove it from the neighbor's property or remove it from their own property on a permanent basis?
Remove it from their own property, since it's shown that it's removed. It's as well as the neighbors, since it's shown that it's a nuisance. It spreads widely and very quickly.
Okay, I will follow up with Teresa on this, because I know that she is aware of these complaints. And maybe I just want to learn a little bit more about this, but I think this is a relevant topic, because I know other properties and in
Look,
town that have had bamboo.
I think you'll find that there are cases in the newspapers, precedents here. So just, I would look it up.
Yeah, this is how you deal with someone's dog barking too.
Yeah,
Also,
exactly.
generally covered under the nuisance statute. It's the bamboo's annoying. And it's hard to get out.
It's nice in Vietnam.
I mean, it grows like weeds. It's great, but if you're not able to maintain it, I think you can't have it. I agree with Ralph's view on that. Then you shouldn't have it.
There are some towns with ordinances that require bamboo to be enclosed in a closed structure like a pot.
Allison would have a record of any ordinances, or maybe Bill Brooks, the town arborist, might have dealt with this before.
I think, frankly, I think you could, in the next 10 minutes, go on Google and look for legal treatment for wild bamboo. Okay, if that helps in that situation, I'm happy. Any other new business? Okay, then is there a council update that we should have, Eleni?
Nothing major. I guess I had, I guess, another question for the Environmental Commission. As you know, the council is looking into potentially purchasing that property on Fairhaven Road by the dock. And that has been discussed in the public council meeting. There was a hearing about it. We also provided some information to the public about it as we were seeking comments and perspectives. I just was wondering whether that's something that the Environmental Commission has any thoughts or views, or could comment or should not comment.
No,
It would be nice to have some perspectives, some wide perspectives from residents and a commission such as this one on such a proposed purchase.
now traditionally, buying waterfront property, buying any park property is the purvey of the council, and traditionally the Fairhaven Environmental Commission has never gotten into it. I don't think we would in this case. That's a matter large enough dollar value. It's a matter for the council. And good luck to them. I hope they get it.
I don't see any harm in commenting. It's just good to have the view of different residents. We want to make sure that we hear all the voices, and I can see a number of reasons, of good reasons why that property makes sense as a purchase. And as you said, Ralph, I think we are under a view that if there are such opportunities for Fairhaven to purchase, we should pursue those opportunities, or at least look into them. But yeah, welcome any thoughts or any views. Just I thought I would ask the question.
Well, I'm glad you did. You see, the main opposition to that is not one of environment. The main opposition to that comes from people who say, why don't we make it a taxable property, and then it'll lower my taxes. And don't start a regime of buying waterfront property. The town can't afford it, or park property. And there are a number of those people in town. You've seen them at the council. So that's one reason why it's a council issue. It's an economic issue, really.
Yeah, once it's acquired, it can become an environmental issue, because I live nearby there. I know what the property's like.
Yes, it can.
Well, good luck. I'd like to see it as a park, but it's mostly as Ralph said, it's the Environmental Commission's job after it's acquired.
Got you. All right. Thank you. I thought I would mention it.
Okay. Then, all else aside, are there any public comments? Is there any public here?
There are two attendees. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand via Zoom. I know we can't see you.
I take that-
Anyone? No hands raised.
No hands raised. Okay, fine. Well, I'm glad, and say hello to Susan for me, and I don't know who the other person is. Well, then we have adjournment, and hearing that all the business has been completed, I declare the meeting adjourned. Okay, you all have a nice summer, and we'll see you in September.
Thank you, Rob. You too, everyone.
Good night.
Okay,
Okay.
Take care.
bye-bye now.
Right.
Good night.
Bye.